The stars had witnessed countless civilizations rise and fall. Some species evolved razor-sharp claws. Others mastered venom capable of dissolving steel. Many built civilizations around strength, speed, or unimaginable psychic power. But no one, not even the oldest races in the galaxy, feared humanity. Because humans looked ordinary. No fangs. No armored skin. No telepathy. No natural weapons. Just fragile bodies wrapped in soft flesh. When Earth officially joined the Galactic Union in the year 2348, representatives from over 3,000 civilizations quietly laughed. The Council's biological reports ranked humans as Class 4 survivors. Average. Unremarkable. Forgettable. The mighty Korth Dominion called them walking prey. The insectoids collective described humans as chemically unstable primates. Even the ancient Illyrians predicted humanity would disappear within 2 centuries. No one realized they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Captain Elias Carter stood silently aboard the diplomatic cruiser Horizon, staring through the observation window. Thousands of alien ships floated peacefully around Unity Station, the political heart of the galaxy. Beside him stood Ambassador Liana Brooks. "They're staring again," she sighed. Elias smiled. "They've been staring since we arrived. They think we're weak. They're judging us by appearances." The captain simply nodded. "They always do." Neither of them felt insulted. Humans had experienced prejudice for thousands of years. People underestimated what they didn't understand. It usually ended badly. Across the station, Supreme Commander Varek of the Korth Empire watched the human delegation with visible amusement. His armored body towered nearly 3 meters high. Every soldier in his species possessed enough raw strength to tear armored vehicles apart. He laughed loudly. Those tiny creatures? They survived on a death world? Impossible. His officers laughed with him. Earth's gravity was certainly higher than galactic average. Its predators had once been terrifying. Its oceans dangerous. Its weather violent. But humans themselves looked harmless. Varek dismissed every warning hidden inside Earth's environmental report. He ignored one sentence written by an anonymous Union scientist. Never judge a species that survived by adapting instead of evolving weapons. Far beyond civilized space, something ancient awakened. Deep inside the black void between spiral arms floated enormous organic vessels. Each ship measured nearly the size of a moon. No engines. No visible weapons. Only living tissue. For millions of years they had drifted through darkness. Sleeping. Waiting. Now, they were moving. The Vorith swarm had returned. Entire civilizations vanished before anyone even detected them. Planets went silent. Colonies disappeared overnight. No distress calls. No survivors. Only empty worlds. The Galactic Union activated emergency protocols. Fleet after fleet disappeared attempting reconnaissance. The Council panicked. Nobody understood what kind of enemy erased entire star systems without leaving wreckage behind. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some believed it was an ancient plague. Others whispered about cosmic gods. Then the first survivor arrived. A damaged mining vessel drifted into Union space. Only one crew member remained alive. His scales were burned black. His breathing barely functional. With shaking hands, he whispered just 4 words. "They eat everything alive." Silence filled the emergency chamber. Within days, 37 inhabited systems vanished. Trade collapsed. Military communications failed. Entire governments evacuated. The strongest empires suddenly became frightened children. Supreme Commander Varek demanded immediate retaliation. "We possess the largest fleet in known space. We will destroy them." No one argued. The Korth Armada launched. Nearly 20,000 warships. Enough firepower to conquer half the galaxy. They never returned. Not one signal. Not one escape pod. Nothing. Fear transformed into terror. During the emergency Galactic Council meeting, leaders desperately searched for answers. Ancient archives. Forbidden technology. Lost civilizations. Nothing explained the Vorith. Then an elderly historian slowly raised one trembling hand. There may be one possibility. Everyone turned. The archives mention an extinct civilization that defeated similar creatures nearly 12 million years ago. The chamber fell completely silent. Who were they? Someone whispered. The historian swallowed. We don't know. The records only describe them using one sentence. He activated the ancient translation. Golden letters appeared across the chamber. Beware the species that smiles before impossible odds. Ambassador Liana Brooks froze. Captain Elias looked toward the screen. For the first time since arriving in galactic space, a strange expression crossed his face. Recognition. Very quietly, he whispered, I've heard that phrase before. The council chamber fell into complete silence. Every delegate turned toward Captain Elias Carter. Even the towering Korth generals stopped whispering. Ambassador Liana Brooks looked at him in surprise. You've heard that phrase before? She asked. Elias nodded slowly. My grandfather used to say it. He stared at the ancient holographic text. Beware the species that smiles before impossible odds. It was engraved on a memorial at Earth's Interstellar War Academy. The room erupted in confusion. Impossible, one counselor said. That inscription is over 12 million years old. Elias folded his arms. Then maybe humanity has forgotten more of its past than we realize. The statement sent a chill through the chamber. At that moment, emergency alarms echoed across Unity Station. A holographic officer appeared above the center table. Priority 1 alert. The Vorith swarm has entered the Helios corridor. Gasps filled the room. The Helios corridor was less than 2 days from the galactic core. If it fell, billions of civilians would have nowhere to run. Supreme Commander Varek slammed his fist onto the table. We still have reserve fleets. The officer lowered his head. They've already engaged. A new hologram appeared. Hundreds of Korth battleships fired endless streams of plasma. The Vorith living ships didn't dodge. They absorbed the blasts. Their massive organic hulls simply regenerated. Moments later, enormous tendrils erupted from their bodies. One by one, the Korth warships disappeared into the creatures' mouths. Not exploded. Consumed. The live transmission ended in static. No survivors. Fear spread faster than the enemy itself. Across thousands of worlds, evacuation sirens sounded. Families abandoned cities. Cargo ships became refugee transports overnight. Markets crashed. Governments declared martial law. Entire sectors simply vanished from communication. No one knew how to stop the Vorith. The oldest empires admitted something they had never admitted before. We cannot win. Inside Earth's delegation quarters, military leaders joined an emergency conference. Admiral Sophia Reynolds appeared on the secure screen from Earth. Her expression remained calm despite the chaos. Captain Carter, give me your assessment. Elias didn't hesitate. The galaxy is fighting the Vorith the wrong way. The room became quiet. They're treating this like a conventional war. But predators don't think like soldiers. Admiral Reynolds nodded. So what are they? Hunters. And hunters can be hunted. The alien observers exchanged skeptical looks. A Tsar scientist interrupted. Our calculations show 0 probability of victory. Elias smiled. That's because your computers only calculate strength. They don't calculate stubbornness. The scientist frowned. Explain. Humans had spent thousands of years surviving impossible environments. Ice ages. Supervolcanoes. Pandemics. Meteor impacts. World wars. Natural disasters. Every crisis forced humanity to adapt. When stronger predators appeared, humans didn't become stronger. They became smarter. They built traps. Invented tools. Learned patterns. Turned weaknesses into advantages. We never defeated nature by overpowering it, Elias said. We survived because we learned faster than everything trying to kill us. Far beyond the frontier, the Vorith swarm continued advancing. Their hive intelligence analyzed every battle. Every species followed predictable logic. Defend. Retreat. The swarm adapted effortlessly. Victory after victory strengthened their confidence. One small object entered their sensors. Not a fleet. Not a battleship. Just one tiny human scout vessel. It flew directly toward the swarm. No weapons charged. No shields activated. The Vorith ignored it. It wasn't worth consuming. The little ship transmitted only one message. Target confirmed. Seconds later it turned around and accelerated away. The swarm didn't chase it. That decision would become the greatest mistake in their existence. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Himalayas, massive blast doors began opening for the first time in nearly 400 years. Dust fell from kilometer-high ceilings. Ancient reactors hummed back to life. Rows upon rows of enormous warships emerged from darkness. Ships unlike anything the Galactic Union had ever seen. Their hulls carried scars from battles no history book remembered. Every vessel bore the same emblem. A blue planet, surrounded by a silver phoenix. Admiral Reynolds stood on the command platform. Status report. An AI answered. The Atlas fleet is fully operational. All 1,000 strategic warships are combat-ready. A young officer looked stunned. Ma'am, why has the galaxy never seen these ships? Reynolds looked through the massive observation window. Because they were never built to fight civilizations. She paused. They were built to hunt monsters. As engines older than most civilizations roared to life, one command echoed across the hidden fortress. Launch the Atlas fleet. For humanity, and for everyone who still has a future. The hidden fortress beneath the Himalayas shook as 1,000 colossal warships rose from their underground docks. For centuries, the Atlas fleet had remained a secret. Not because humanity feared using it, because humanity had prayed it would never be needed again. Each vessel carried technology that predated Earth's modern governments. Their armor wasn't polished for ceremonies. It was scarred by battles history no longer remembered. Entire sections had been rebuilt dozens of times, each repair telling the story of another impossible victory. On the bridge of the flagship Aegis, Admiral Sophia Reynolds watched the fleet assemble. All ships reporting ready, an officer announced. Navigation locked. Weapons online. Awaiting orders. Reynolds took a slow breath. Set course for the Helios corridor. The 1,000 warships vanished into hyperspace. Meanwhile, panic spread across the Galactic Union. Every hour, another star system disappeared. Refugee convoys stretched across space for millions of kilometers. The once proud empires had stopped talking about victory. Now they discussed survival. Inside Unity Station, Supreme Commander Varek stared silently at the tactical display. Nearly 80% of the Korth military was gone. His empire, the strongest in known space, had been reduced to scattered survivors. He turned toward Ambassador Brooks. I was wrong. She looked at him quietly. We judged your people by appearances. Varek lowered his head. And now our arrogance may destroy us all. Before Brooks could answer, another alert flashed. Human fleet exiting hyperspace. Every eye turned toward the massive hologram. 1,000 unknown human warships appeared between the Vorith swarm and the fleeing refugee convoy. The alien commanders gasped. Only 1,000? Against millions of living enemy vessels, it looked hopeless. The Vorith hive mind immediately analyzed the newcomers. Metal-based organisms. Minimal numbers. Standard probability of victory. 99.998%. The swarm surged forward. Thousands of living ships opened enormous biological mouths. Energy built inside them. They prepared to erase the human fleet in one devastating attack. But the humans didn't move. They held formation. Perfectly still. One confused alien officer whispered, "Why aren't they retreating?" Captain Elias Carter smiled. "They're waiting." For what? The perfect distance. A calm voice echoed across every human warship. Atlas Protocol 1. Every bridge crew responded together. Hunt begins. The front lines split apart. Instead of charging forward, the fleet scattered in dozens of different directions. Alien commanders stared in disbelief. They're breaking formation. They've lost discipline. But Admiral Reynolds had expected exactly that reaction. The Vorith chased the nearest targets, believing the humans were fleeing in panic. The swarm surged forward. Thousands of living ships opened enormous biological mouths. Energy built inside them. They prepared to erase the human fleet in one devastating attack. But the humans didn't move. They held formation, perfectly still. One confused alien officer whispered, "Why aren't they retreating?" Captain Elias Carter smiled. "They're waiting." For what? The perfect distance. A calm voice echoed across every human warship. Atlas Protocol 1. Every bridge crew responded together. Hunt begins. The front lines split apart. Instead of charging forward, the fleet scattered in dozens of different directions. Alien commanders stared in disbelief. They're breaking formation. They've lost discipline. But Admiral Reynolds had expected exactly that reaction. The Vorith chased the nearest targets, believing the humans were fleeing in panic. That was precisely what humanity wanted. Minutes later, the first trap closed. Entire regions of empty space suddenly erupted with thousands of invisible gravity mines. The Vorith ships flew directly into them. Space itself twisted violently. Living vessels the size of moons collided with each other. Several were crushed instantly. Others lost control and drifted into massive gravitational tears. For the first time in millions of years, the Vorith suffered casualties. Across the swarm, confusion spread. The Atlas fleet attacked from every direction. Not with overwhelming force. With relentless precision. Small hunter groups isolated individual Vorith ships. Instead of firing endlessly, they targeted the creature's sensory organs, nerve clusters, and regenerative cores. Every shot had a purpose. Every missile carried specialized biological toxins designed decades earlier. Human scientists had spent centuries studying the possibility of life forms exactly like these. Just in case. The preparation had seemed paranoid. Now it was saving civilizations. Inside the hive mind, something unfamiliar appeared. Uncertainty. The humans weren't fighting like prey. They weren't fighting like soldiers. They behaved like predators. Every retreat was intentional. Every apparent mistake became another ambush. Every destroyed human drone revealed the location of another hidden trap. The Vorith adapted. Humans adapted faster. Watching from Unity Station, alien commanders could barely believe the battle unfolding before them. The impossible was happening. The unstoppable swarm had slowed. For the first time since the invasion began, its advance had stopped completely. Supreme Commander Varek whispered, "They're not stronger than the Vorith." Captain Carter nodded. "No. They're smarter." Another explosion illuminated the battlefield as three enormous Vorith vessels collapsed into one another. The refugee convoy escaped behind the human defensive line. Millions of civilians were safe. Cheers erupted throughout the station. But Admiral Reynolds remained expressionless. An officer noticed. "Ma'am, we've done it." She slowly shook her head. "No." She looked toward the tactical display. "We've only made them angry." At the very edge of the battlefield, the stars suddenly disappeared behind something so enormous that sensors struggled to measure it. The true leader of the Vorith swarm had finally arrived. And it was larger than an entire planet. Silence spread across every battlefield. Even the endless explosions seemed insignificant as the colossal shadow emerged from the darkness. At first, alien sensors reported an error. Then another. And another. The object was simply too large to measure. When the tactical display finally stabilized, every officer aboard Unity Station stared in disbelief. The Vorith Hive Sovereign. Diameter, 3,200 kilometers. Larger than many inhabited moons. Its living shell pulsed like a gigantic heart, surrounded by millions of escort creatures. Entire mountain-sized tendrils drifted through space, each capable of crushing a battleship with ease. One terrified council member whispered, "That's not a warship. It's an ecosystem." Across the battlefield, the smaller Vorith vessels immediately changed formation. Instead of acting independently, They synchronized perfectly. The Hive Sovereign had taken direct control. Within seconds, the traps that had devastated the swarm became almost useless. Gravity mines were avoided. Ambushes were anticipated. Human hunter groups suddenly found themselves countered at every turn. On the bridge of the Aegis, warning alarms echoed. Enemy adaptation rate has increased by 600%. They're predicting our movements. Captain Elias Carter watched the tactical map carefully. So, the commander finally woke up. Admiral Sophia Reynolds nodded. This is the opponent we've been waiting for. The Hive Sovereigns studied humanity. Unlike every other civilization, humans didn't panic when their plans failed. They immediately changed tactics. No hesitation. No confusion. That fascinated the ancient intelligence. For the first time in millions of years, the Vorith transmitted a message. It echoed through every communication channel in the galaxy. A deep, alien voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. Species designation, human. Your resistance exceeds predicted parameters. Surrender. Biological assimilation will be painless. Across the galaxy, billions listened. Refugees. Soldiers. World leaders. Everyone waited for humanity's answer. Admiral Reynolds pressed the transmit button. You've mistaken us for someone interested in surviving. She paused. We're interested in winning. The channel went silent. Then the Hive Sovereign replied with a single sentence. Then extinction is acceptable. Without warning, the Sovereign attacked. A crimson wave of biological energy erupted from its core. Entire human squadrons disappeared instantly. Dozens of Atlas warships were destroyed. For the first time, the fleet suffered serious losses. Bridge crews fought desperately to keep damaged ships operational. One cruiser drifted powerless after shielding a refugee convoy. Its captain, Maya Ortiz, looked at the burning control panels. Evacuation impossible. Her crew remained calm. One engineer smiled. We bought them time. Captain Ortiz nodded. That's enough. She opened a fleet-wide channel. Atlas 7 requesting permission for final maneuver. Admiral Reynolds closed her eyes for a moment. Permission granted. The damaged cruiser accelerated directly toward the Hive Sovereign. Every remaining reactor overloaded. Every engine burned beyond safety limits. Alien observers screamed as the ship rammed into one of the Sovereign's enormous sensory nodes. A blinding explosion lit up half the battlefield. When the light faded, the Sovereign had survived, but one of its primary sensory organs was gone. For the first time, the ancient creature cried out in pain. A shockwave rippled through the Vorith swarm. Millions of smaller ships hesitated. The impossible had happened. Their immortal leader had been wounded. Captain Carter clenched his fist. There. It can bleed. Every human commander immediately understood. If it could bleed, it could die. A young intelligence officer rushed onto the bridge of the Aegis. Admiral, we've finished translating the ancient archive recovered from the Council. Reynolds looked up. What does it say? The officer swallowed nervously. The extinct civilization wasn't destroyed. What? They didn't lose to the Vorith. They sealed the Hive Sovereign away 12 million years ago. He projected the final recovered sentence onto the main screen. Only one species refused to forget how to kill the monsters. Every officer stared silently. Beneath the text was an ancient symbol. A silver phoenix, surrounding a blue planet. The exact emblem carried by every Atlas warship. Captain Carter whispered, My God! It wasn't just a legend. Admiral Reynolds slowly nodded. No, it was our history. The bridge fell silent as the realization spread. Humanity hadn't built the Atlas fleet to fight an unknown enemy. Their ancestors had built it before. Long before recorded history. Because humanity had already fought, and nearly defeated, the Vorith once before. And this time, they intended to finish the job forever. A heavy silence settled over the bridge of the Aegis. No one spoke. Every officer stared at the ancient phoenix symbol glowing beside the recovered archive. Humanity hadn't accidentally become the galaxy's deadliest species. It had been shaped by a forgotten war. Thousands of generations earlier, Earth's ancestors had faced the Vorath Hive Sovereign. They had not destroyed it, they had sealed it beyond the edge of known space, leaving behind hidden fleets and fragmented warnings for future civilizations. Time had erased the memory, but not the preparation. Admiral Sophia Reynolds looked around the bridge. Our ancestors gave us one mission. She took a steady breath. We finish what they started. Across the fleet, 1,000 Atlas warships acknowledged the order. No cheers. No speeches. Just one response. For Earth. The Hive Sovereign drifted forward, its damaged sensory organ already beginning to regenerate. Its cold voice echoed through every communication channel. Your resistance is statistically insignificant. Captain Elias Carter smiled. You still think this is about statistics? He activated the final Atlas protocol. Hidden compartments opened across every human warship. Alien observers watched in confusion as strange metallic satellites launched into space. Thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. Supreme Commander Varek frowned. Those aren't weapons. No, Carter replied. They're the battlefield. The satellites spread across millions of kilometers, weaving an invisible lattice around the Hive Sovereign. Each device emitted a perfectly synchronized gravitational pulse. Separately, they were harmless. Together, they created something unprecedented. A prison. The Hive Sovereign immediately sensed the danger and ordered the swarm to destroy the network. Millions of Vorath ships surged toward the satellites. But the Atlas fleet intercepted them. Human ships fought with relentless precision, sacrificing themselves to keep the lattice intact. Cruisers shielded destroyers. Destroyers protected engineers. No one broke formation. Every second they bought brought the trap closer to completion. On the bridge of the Aegis, alarms blared. Hull integrity at 40%. Forward batteries destroyed. Enemy breach on Deck 7. Smoke filled the command center. An officer looked at Admiral Reynolds. Should we withdraw? She shook her head. If we retreat today, there won't be a tomorrow. The crew returned to their stations without another word. Outside, the final satellite locked into position. Captain Carter pressed a single red command. Phoenix Protocol. The entire lattice activated. Space itself bent around the Hive Sovereign. The colossal creature tried to escape. It couldn't. Its tendrils stretched against invisible walls as gravity folded inward from every direction. For the first time in 12 million years, the monster was trapped. The Hive Sovereign roared so loudly that sensors across the galaxy overloaded. Then it spoke one final time. Impossible. Carter answered quietly. No. Human. The Atlas fleet concentrated every remaining weapon on the immobilized Sovereign. Thousands of synchronized beams struck the same damaged wound created by Captain Maya Ortiz's sacrifice. The crack widened. Organic armor shattered. The exposed core pulsed violently. Reynolds gave the last command. All ships. Fire. A beam brighter than a newborn star erupted from the combined fleet. It pierced the Sovereign's core. For one endless moment, nothing happened. Then the giant living planet fractured. Light burst through every crack. The Hive Sovereign exploded into billions of glowing fragments that slowly dissolved into cosmic dust. At that exact instant, every remaining Vorath vessel froze. Without their central intelligence, the swarm lost coordination. Some drifted aimlessly. Others shut down completely. The war was over. Weeks later, representatives from every surviving civilization gathered once more at Unity Station. This time, no one laughed when humans entered the chamber. Supreme Commander Varek walked to Admiral Reynolds and removed his ceremonial command blade, the highest symbol of Korth honor. He knelt. So long as the Korth endure, we will remember who saved the galaxy. One by one, the other leaders followed. Not because humanity demanded respect. Because humanity had earned it. The Council unanimously voted to rewrite the Galactic Survival Manual. The first page now contained only one sentence. Never judge humanity by how fragile they appear. judge them by everything that has failed to destroy them. Months later, children across hundreds of worlds asked their teachers the same question. Were humans really the deadliest species alive? The answer was always the same. No. They became the deadliest only when innocent lives needed protecting. Back on Earth, the surviving Atlas ships quietly returned to their hidden docks beneath the Himalayas. No parades. No celebrations. Just silence. Captain Carter looked at the ancient Phoenix emblem one last time. Our ancestors trusted us. Admiral Reynolds nodded. And someday, another generation will stand where we stood. The blast doors slowly closed, hiding the Atlas fleet once again. The galaxy returned to peace. But every civilization remembered one lesson that would never be forgotten. The strongest species isn't the one born with the greatest weapons. It's the one that refuses to surrender when everyone else believes the battle is already lost.